The wood doesn't just muffle the sound, it vibrates. A low guttural vibration that makes the iron bands on the Damascus-forged doors hum against the stone. Outside, a guard named Yekta shifts his weight. He's survived the long winters on the Persian front. He's watched men hold their own intestines in their hands without making a sound. But tonight, he takes 3 steps back from the cedar door. His partner, a younger man named Enis, is staring at the floor, his jaw locked so tight his teeth might crack. Yekta will later write in a private ledger, hidden for centuries in a dusty cellar in the village of Gave. I have heard the sounds of the dying on a dozen battlefields. I have never heard a soul try to claw its way out of a living throat until that night. The girl behind that door is 15. Her name is Fatma. She is the daughter of Sultan Ahmed I. She is the granddaughter of Fatma Sultan, the woman who moves the pieces on the board of the known world. 12 weeks ago, Fatma was in the palace observatory, her fingers stained with ink as she tracked the retrograde motion of Mars. She was arguing with an astronomer about the curvature of the horizon. Tonight, she is learning that in this empire, her mind is a liability and her body is state-issued currency. This isn't a wedding story. This is a forensic breakdown of a machine, a system of psychological demolition so precise it makes modern interrogation look like a blunt instrument. And for 600 years, the blueprints for this machine were buried in the encrypted archives of the Topkapi. The question isn't why they hid the truth. The question is how many other ghosts are still waiting for us to find them. Istanbul, 1622. The city is the center of gravity for 3 continents. When the Sultan breathes, Venice holds its breath. But inside the marble ribs of the palace, there is a shadow state, the Imperial Harem. You've seen the paintings. You think it was a place of silk and lounging. It wasn't. It was a parallel government, a hierarchy of women where power was measured in whispers and survival was a full-time job. Fatma Sultan was the pride of this world. By 10, she was debating Greek philosophy. She wrote poetry in Arabic that made the court poets look like amateurs. In her private journal, dated December 1620, she wrote, "If the stars move in perfect circles, why does time feel like a spiral? My father says I think too much for a girl. My mother says nothing, but her eyes are like cold glass. I wish the stars could warn me. They didn't." December 1622. Fatma is summoned to the inner chamber, no warning. Her mother, Kosem, sits with a spine like a steel rod. Beside her stands a woman named Iklal, a senior official whose job has no English translation. She was the architect of the Edirne Protocols. Her specialty was the systematic removal of a human being's will. Iklal doesn't look up from her scrolls. "The decision is finalized," she says. "You will marry Kara Mustafa Pasha. March 15th, we begin tomorrow." Mustafa Pasha. A man 20 years Fatma's senior, a commander whose face is a map of scars from the Hungarian campaigns. He's a man who breaks things for a living. For him, this marriage is a promotion. For Fatma, it's an execution in a white dress. Fatma doesn't scream. She looks at her mother. Kosem's face remains a mask of unreadable stone. That silence is the first blow. What followed wasn't a celebration. It was a 3-month erasure. They take her to the Gelin Odasi, the bride's chamber. It's a room paneled in dark ebony, designed to absorb light. The carpets are so thick that the world becomes silent. The windows are shuttered and nailed. Modern psychologists who've mapped the floor plan call it a sensory deprivation environment. The lighting is angled so you can never tell if it's noon or midnight. On the walls, they've hung tapestries of the ideal wife. Women who sacrifice their children for the state. Women who died of grief at their husbands' graves. Propaganda running on a 24-hour loop. Iqlal enters every morning with a leather-bound book, no title. Just instructions on how to break a princess while keeping the porcelain intact. Stand, Iqlal commands. For the next 4 hours, Fatma performs the 18 postures of humility. These aren't just bows, they are mathematical angles of submission. The greeting bow, 30-degree neck tilt, hands over the solar plexus. Message, I am grateful for your gaze. The serving bow, 45 degrees, palms up. Message, I exist to fill your voids. The retiring bow, full prostration, forehead to the cold marble. Message, I disappear when you wish it. By week 4, Fatma's muscle memory has overridden her brain. Her body bows before her mind can even process the command. It's called embodied submission. The mind might want to fight, but the muscles have already surrendered. Then they come for her voice. Fatma's vocabulary is reduced to exactly 43 phrases. Yes, my lord, as you wish. Forgive my inadequacy. Thank you for your mercy. Anything else, any talk of stars, any mention of Greek philosophy, is met with the reflection cell. A space so small she can only sit with her knees to her chin. Pitch black, for 6 hours. The girl who once debated scholars is being hollowed out. Twice a week, there is the lesson in perspective. Fatma, a royal princess, is forced to personally wash and dress her father's favorite concubines. She feeds them by hand. She fastens their jewelry. An attendant named Selim wrote in a smuggled letter, "The princess's hands shook so hard the rubies rattled against the gold. She wept, but she made no sound. I have never seen a person cry while staying completely silent. It was like watching a ghost mourn its own funeral." By week 8, her hands don't shake anymore. Not because she's brave, because she isn't there anymore. Under the palace, in rooms that don't exist on any map, they have anatomical models commissioned from Venice, detailed, horrifying. Under the supervision of elderly women who take notes in clinical Persian, Fatma is forced to rehearse. Every reaction is documented. Subject displayed fear response. Session extended. Subject showed physical resistance. Increased conditioning required. They were building a technical manual for a human being. 7 days before the wedding, they move her to a pavilion in the gardens. Isolated. Her diet is regulated by the ounce. Pomegranates, honey, and a specific blend of Yemeni spices. Modern analysis suggests these spices contained early dissociative compounds, natural sedatives designed to induce a dreamlike compliance. She bathes in water infused with valerian root and poppy extract, chemical sedation disguised as luxury. The walls are covered in mirrors. Everywhere Fatma looks, she sees herself policing herself. The night before the wedding, they give her a special tea, concentrated poppy milk, and mandrake root. The goal wasn't sleep. The goal was separation, mind from body. Fatma's last coherent journal entry, written with a trembling hand. Tonight the stars will move. Tomorrow they will be there, but I won't be able to see them. Mother says this is what it means to be a woman of power. If this is power, I would rather be a slave with a soul. Then the fog rolls in. March 15th, 1623. Istanbul is screaming with joy. Processions wind through streets perfumed with frankincense. Musicians from 3 continents play until their fingers bleed. The city is drunk on the glory of the empire. In a private chamber, Fatma is a mannequin. The court physicians record her pulse. Weak, irregular, skin cold, eyes unfocused. Subject appears conscious but unresponsive. The wedding dress is a prison. White silk embroidered with gold. But beneath the surface, it's fitted with internal cords that restrict her breathing. The jewelry is weighted to act as functional restraints. The shoes make running impossible. Kara Mustafa Pasha is in another room, receiving his own training. Military veterans are teaching him techniques of dominance, physical positioning, and psychological intimidation. This isn't a union, it's a siege. The doors of the octagonal chamber close. The physicians, the scribes, and the witnesses wait behind carved screens. Their job is to document the consummation of the state policy. The notes from that hour are written in encrypted Persian. They describe a complete psychological collapse. Fatma's body begins to tremor violently. Her voice is gone. Her eyes roll back. The Pasha, trained for conquest, interprets her state as defiance. He employs the recommended techniques. Fatma doesn't fight back. She enters what modern psychology calls dissociative shutdown. The mind abandons the body to protect itself. The physician's final note, written at dawn: internal injuries, documented, repeated loss of consciousness. What we observed tonight was not a wedding. It was Ruhan Chikmasa, the departure of the soul. Marriage sealed. The person who entered this chamber did not survive the night. Istanbul celebrates the successful union. Coins are thrown, poetry is recited, and in a darkened pavilion, Fatma sits staring at a wall. The girl is dead. The body will linger for 29 more years. If you can hear the silence behind those palace walls, if you want to see if she ever finds her way back to the stars, you need to subscribe right now. Join the few who actually want to hear the history they tried to burn. Fatma lived those 29 years as a ghost. She developed selective mutism. She had to be force-fed like an infant. Any male presence triggered a physical collapse. The girl who loved astronomy never looked at the sky again. Her journals sat in a locked chest, gathering dust. Kara Mustafa Pasha spent the rest of his life on the ET front lines. He requested the most dangerous assignments in Persia and Yemen. He wrote to a colleague, "They gave me a bride and told me it was a reward. What they gave me was a ghost in a crown. I cannot look at her without seeing what I was made to do. Send me to the frontier. Let me die like a soldier." He was haunted. She was destroyed. The empire called it a success. On March 15th, 1652, exactly 29 years to the day after her wedding, Fatma died. The official records say brain fever. The palace staff whispered that she simply decided she had carried the memory long enough. The official chronicles mention her in one line: Fatma Sultan, wife of Kara Mustafa Pasha, mother of 4, noted for her piety and obedience. The astronomer was erased. The intellectual was erased. The human being was replaced with a clinical definition of obedience. This machine didn't stop with Fatma. Between 1530 and 1826, 37 documented princesses went through this process. 37 brilliant, educated women, broken with surgical precision. And it wasn't just the Ottomans. From the foot binding of imperial China to the secret bridal rituals of the European courts, the goal has always been the same: transform a person into an instrument of state. The most dangerous thing about history isn't what we don't know. It's the official version we've been forced to accept. The truth is always darker, stranger, and more human than the textbooks allow. Fatma Sultan's mother once wrote, "I have made sultans and unmade them, but I could not protect my daughter from the machine I helped build. That is the price of power. You feed the machine, and eventually it feeds on you." Keep questioning the official story. The ghosts are waiting to be heard.